Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eat to Treat. We are a nonprofit that aims to end health disparities. I'm Dr. Amaris Williams. I have a PhD in nutrition. I'm an avid foodie and a cook, and I do free live cook-along cooking demonstrations every first and third Saturday of every month, and at 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Pacific. And we post the ingredients ahead of time on eat-to-treat.org. And so you can get the ingredients and join us in the kitchen and have a great time making a delicious meal. So today we're making Ropa Vieja, which translates to old clothes. It's the national dish of Cuba or Cuba. And today we're making it with chicken instead of the traditional beef. But this recipe can be adapted to be made with beef or other meats, as you'll see later. So let's get started. The first step in any recipe that involves wine or beer or liquor is to first open said wine or beer or liquor and do a quality control test. That means pour it in a glass and take a sip. So I've got a Cabernet Sauvignon that I got from Aldi. I don't know how much I paid for it, but it wasn't much. And I'm just going to open it up and have a taste. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to go with the Dayquil I had earlier, because I was a little under the weather this morning. So all right. Made a mess already. Making a mess already. Okay. This wine smells good even through my congestion, so that's great. I'm doing a 5-ounce pour, which is 1 serving of alcohol when it comes to wine. It's 5 ounces. Cheers, everyone. All right. So next step, let's get the onion chopped. So I've got my onion already peeled. Hopefully you also peeled yours. I did put on the recipe that the onion should be peeled. I'm just going to cut off the stem. All right. Seems like someone else out there is enjoying their wine. And I'm just going to slice this onion. And the reason for slicing the onion in this recipe is because the Ropa Vieja is supposed to look like old clothes. So old, shredded, ripped up clothes. So it's supposed to be colorful. It's supposed to be strands of fruits, and not fruits, but vegetables and meat. And so everything that we cut today is going to be sliced into strands. And so this onion is no exception. The only exception is the garlic, which is going to be paste or minced, whichever you bought at the store. All right, so now that our onion is ready, I'm just going to set it to the side while I turn on the heat on my pan and get a little bit of olive oil heated up. About a tablespoon of olive oil. And the reason why I cut the onion is, and normally I put the onion in the pan while I'm cutting it, but this time the first thing in the pan is actually going to be the garlic, and we're going to brown the garlic in the oil and then put the onion in. So once the garlic is done cooking, we got to be ready to put the onion in right away to cool the pan down, because we don't want the garlic to burn. We want it to brown but not burn. Okay, so I'm just stirring. Oh, and you can't see this. I'm stirring the garlic in the oil. It's not quite hot yet. But I'm trying to keep it from burning. I just want it to brown, and I'm just going to keep stirring it in the oil as it's heating up until it turns brown, but does not burn. And then once it turns brown, I'm going to throw the onions in there, and that's going to cool the whole pan down. Alright. And while we're waiting on this to turn brown, I think I will take a sip. If you're coordinated enough to take a sip and stir your pan at the same time, go ahead. Don't stir your hand with your drink in it, because then you'll be wearing it. I looked at, maybe four different recipes for Ropa Vieja, and all of them say brown the garlic first. It's a universal step. All right, I think the garlic is cooked enough. It's starting to brown. I'm gonna throw the onions in there, cool down the pan, stir that around a little bit. There must be something to this browning the garlic first. I'm not sure why the garlic goes in first, but every recipe I looked at said brown the garlic first, even the one that used duck. So there was a duck ropa vieja recipe that I have in a cookbook called Cuba Cooks by, I'm blanking on the name. I met the woman who wrote it, but I can't remember her name at the moment. I'll tell you later. But it's got a beautiful recipe for duck ropa vieja. If you ever want to try that. All right. So while the onion is cooking, let's measure out some spices. We've got allspice, oregano. I'm turning mine down to 4 out of 5 while I measure the spices so the garlic doesn't burn. I mean 4 out of 10. I'm sorry, 4 out of 10, not 4 out of 5. Okay. So oregano, I think, is a teaspoon. Yeah, 1 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and 1 tablespoon of cumin. So in goes a teaspoon of oregano. Next up, I've got my allspice, and I'll do a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And finally, a tablespoon of cumin. Right, fit in there. All right. And I think I'm going to have to add some more oil to this pan because my spices have absorbed it. And I don't want them to burn either. So I'm adding another tablespoon of olive oil. If your spices soak up all your oil, just add some more oil. And it's already starting to smell delicious. I love the smell of cumin. All right. Already starting to get the Ropa Vieja flavor, smell, and look. The next thing that we're going to put in is the roasted red peppers. Now, if you're using fresh red peppers, you can put them in now too. If you're using fresh red peppers, I've got a couple here. I would use 2 and not 1. Just for volume. Pull the stem off. Okay, so red peppers are a box of seeds. So what we're interested in is the sides of the box, not the inside of it. So we're just going to cut around the sides, turning it and cutting, turning it and cutting, until we get all the sides off and leave the seeds, that's the middle, behind. So you can see me doing this here. Just cutting the sides off the box. And it leaves the seeds in the middle. So I'll show that one more time. Cutting the sides off the box. All right. And now I'm just going to slice these up into strips and throw them in the pan with the onions. Don't forget to stir your stuff on occasion. Okay. So just slicing up some red pepper. And I'm going to use both fresh red pepper and roasted red pepper in a jar. And that's just because I want the fresh texture. Because the red peppers in the jar are going to be more soft than the fresh red peppers. And I want a little bit of crunch in my dish, a little bit of texture in it. So I'm going to use fresh and canned red pepper. All right. So let's get this cooking. And really, you can use any color pepper, like orange or yellow would also look good in here. Green even. But I'm using all red with my red wine and my red tomatoes that are going in here. And it'll be a very red dish. Okay, so if you're using roasted red bell peppers, I got the ones that are already cut into strips. And uh-oh. I need someone to help me open this jar. Oh, I got it. All right, so I'm just going to drain this. Juice is good in some instances, but this, we're just gonna leave the juice out because we got red wine going in there, and I prefer red wine to pickle juice. So, going with that. All right. And then I'm just gonna put these in the pan. All right, let's get this stirred around. Oh, it's starting to smell so good. I'm going to turn it back up to 5 out of 10. Okay. While that's going, let's measure out the wine. So we need half a cup of wine. You don't need to pour it from the cup you've been drinking out of. There should still be plenty left in the bottle. If there isn't, you might want to see somebody about that. All right. So half a cup of red wine. And I'll put that directly in the pan. Okay. And then to that, I'm going to add a can of crushed tomatoes. Fresh peeled tomatoes here. Just this is a 15-ounce can. They come in like 28-ounce cans, but we don't need that many crushed tomatoes. Just a regular size can of crushed tomatoes will do. And I'm going to pour that straight in. All right. And give that a stir. And the last thing that's going in here before it simmers for a while is some bay leaves. And that's just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. And as you guys can see, I've got a pitiful selection of bay leaves here. This is all I have left. So I gotta get some more bay leaves. But I'm gonna put the pieces that I have in there and hope that I'll be able to retrieve them later. They're so small that I probably won't. I'll just end up eating them, which is not bad. It's just the texture leaves something to be desired. All right, so this is the base sauce for Ropa Vieja. If you were making this with beef, what you would do is you would be, at the same time you're doing this, you would be boiling your beef. Excuse me. You would be boiling your beef in water with onion and bell pepper and celery and bay leaves and allspice berries and all the seasonings that you want in the water with your beef. And you would boil the beef for about an hour to an hour and a half. And then after that, if the beef still isn't tender, you pull it out, you let it cool a little bit, then you beat it with a rolling pin. And that'll tenderize it right on up. And then once it's tender, you can pull it apart into strands, just like the strands of bell pepper that we cut and the strands of onion that we cut. And Then you throw it in the sauce, and you're done. That's ropa vieja. But today, we're going to be using canned chicken breasts, or another option is, since it's November, turkey. So I had an event at my house, and I have a lot of leftover turkey. So I'm going to be putting my leftover turkey in this. I'm going to save this can of chicken for something else. But this this turkey is what's going to go in the pot. Now, another thing is Thanksgiving is coming up. I almost said Halloween. Thanksgiving is coming up. And you might be stuck with some leftover turkey after it's done. This is a good use for leftover turkey. Even if it's dry turkey. So boiling it in this sauce is going to loosen it up a little bit. It's going to lubricate it up. It's going to be less tough. And once you shred it, it's going to be less tough and more delicious than it was before. So this is a way to fix dry, tough turkey and use leftover turkey in a way that's good for you. And then, okay, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to serve this over a bed of spinach on top of a tortilla with some cheese on it. So, what we're going to do is make the vinaigrette that goes on the spinach. And to do that, I'm just going to use a jar so I can shake it. This is just a regular mason jar. This is a pint-sized mason jar, not a, or what is this? I'm not sure. It's a mason jar. It's a small one, not a regular size one. And in this, I'm going to put the juice of 1 lemon. And you've seen me do this before. I roll the lemon under the palm of my hand to loosen up the juices a little bit. And then just cut it in half. And I forgot to get my reamer, so I'll be right back. Okay, got the reamer, and I'll pull out a couple of seeds, but I'm not really too worried about seeds in this because they'll fall off the leaves of the spinach and be in the bottom of the bowl once we start tossing it. Okay, one more seed, I'll take it out. Okay. Now I'll take the juice of this 1 lemon into the jar, and the other sour acid that I'm going to put in there is apple cider vinegar. You can do all lemon juice, you can do all apple cider vinegar. I like the combination of both lemon juice and apple cider vinegar. So juice of 1 lemon. I've got about a tablespoon of honey. My honey was starting to crystallize, which is not bad. It's just a natural thing that honey does. The sugar is in honey. So yes, honey has sugar in it. It's not better for you than regular sugar. It just has more flavor. It's just as sugary as sugar. So don't think that eating honey is better for your blood sugar than sugar is, because it's not. So there's one juice of 1 lemon in here. Next, I'm going to put in my 1 tablespoon of honey, which I microwave. So when your honey starts to crystallize, all you have to do is microwave it. So I put it in a bowl. excuse me, and microwaved it for 15 seconds. It really doesn't take much. Next, in my jar, I'm going to put my 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So honey, the question is honey natural sugar? All sugar is natural sugar. They haven't figured out how to make sugar in the lab yet that's cost effective and can be used ubiquitously. So all the sugar that you buy in the store is natural. It's just you know, I mean, I don't know what you mean by is it natural sugar? Like, do you mean like is it better for you than regular sugar, or I'm not sure what do you mean by like what is the goal of the question? If that can be answered. I'm gonna stir my Ropa Vieja sauce here. So honey is naturally occurring sugar, but it is still added sugar. So because I'm adding it to this vinaigrette, it's not like naturally in the vinaigrette. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Um, it's honey is a form of added sugar. It's weird because the sugars in honey are not added to it, but when you add honey to something else, it becomes added sugar. Like sugar itself is not added sugar, but when you add it to something else, then it's added sugar, which is kind of weird. Okay, so we got honey, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar in the jar. The next thing we want is salt and pepper. I'm just gonna put a pinch of salt and a few twists of pepper. But the thing with added sugar is they're trying to get you to avoid added sugar because it's kind of invisible carbs, invisible carbs and invisible calories. So when it's in a drink, you think, oh, I'm drinking it, so it can't have that much calories, but really it does because it has a lot of added sugar. Um, another thing like desserts and sweets, they're gonna have a lot of added sugar, which is calories. Yeah, so when the bees make it, the sugar occurs naturally, yes. Um, but all the sugar that we eat occurs naturally. Like humans don't make sugar. We get it from corn, or we get it from sugar cane, or we get it from fruits. So all the sugar is natural sugar. Even the white sugar in a bag comes from sugar cane or it comes from corn, and that's naturally occurring sugar. It's just, you know, once we add it to something, then it's added sugar. I know. I guess I'm not explaining it very well. My bay leaf fell out. Okay, how are we doing on time? All right, so let's get this vinaigrette made. The last thing to put in there besides salt and pepper is extra virgin olive oil. And I'm gonna put about a quarter cup in there. And I'm just eyeballing it. You want a ratio of sour to oil Some people do it as low as 1-to-1 sour to oil. Some people do it 2-to-1 oil to sour. So 2 times as much oil as sour in there. I like 1-to-1. I like a more sour vinaigrette. But you can experiment with this and decide what works for you. All right, so we're almost ready to assemble the tacos. First, let's put the turkey in. So the vinaigrette's ready. It looks good. Putting the turkey in. And give it a stir and let it heat through, and then it's ready to go because the turkey's already cooked. And if you were using beef, that would already be cooked too. So it's a quick dish once you cook the meat that you're using. And simmer the sauce a little bit. I'm pulling my bay leaves out when I find them. There's one. Got him. All right. Turning the heat off. All right. So the ropa vieja. There you go. That's the old clothes right there. And that's why it gets its name. And then let's make some tortillas. All right, so I've got tortillas, I've got cheese, I've got spinach, I've got vinaigrette, and I've got ropa vieja. And I have wine. All right. Plate to put it on. So this is a whole wheat tortilla. It's upside down now. Whole wheat. You can also get carb balanced tortillas. They're gonna have even more fiber than a whole wheat tortilla. You can also get whole wheat carb balanced tortillas, which is a lot, but that's one way to maximize your fiber. The carb balanced tortillas, what they do is they add extra fiber to the tortillas, and that kind of cancels out, not 100%, but some of the carbohydrates in the tortilla. So I'm gonna make 2 at a time here, if I can. No, I'll just make 1. Stop being greedy. All right. So first I'm gonna put down some spinach. This is where you can see it. So I put down some spinach. Put a little vinaigrette on top. And I actually didn't know what ropa vieja was until about a week ago when my brother introduced me to this dish. So shout out to Miles for introducing me to this. Then I'll put some cheese on top. this is a reduced fat Mexican style blend. And finally, the crowning feature, the Ropa Vieja. And I'll put some directly on top of my cheese. Et voila. Or, I don't know how to say voila in Spanish, but voila in Spanish, a taco or burrito, because this is quite large. But yeah, that's the meal. Thanks for joining. Let me give you a quick outro so we can eat. Okay, everyone. We made Ropa Vieja, a national dish of Cuba, and it was a diabetes-friendly meal, especially if you use a carb-balanced tortilla, and it's going to be delicious. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time on the third Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here, same place, same time. I'll put the ingredients on the website, eat-to-treat.org, Wednesday before the demo, so you can get the ingredients and join me in the kitchen to make this delicious meal. All right, see ya. Bye.